Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is One of One, but you can call me Seven. And last time on Watching the Holy Night, the dynamic has shifted. Things are not so haha hoo hoo hee hee goofy funny fun times anymore. Things have gotten a lot more serious now that we know the stakes, and now that we know a little bit about the relationship between Aoko and her sister Toko, and all about her family line. And all this about true magic and magecraft. So, Toko's come along to smash everything that Aoko owns. She's waited all this time, at least according to Shizuki, which I think he's right personally. Even though the game told me that he's wrong, I don't know, we'll have to see. She wants to take what Aoko has. And that's concerning because Shizuki is now somehow some kind of property, and they literally just asserted that when he was cleaning the courtyard, and then he came in to sort of chastise the two girls for not helping him. So now that that's the dynamic, and the two girls have their plan, let's see how this is going to unfold. I am concerned. As night appeared, two things vanished. The first was the whimsical snowfall, the second was the lights on the mansion on the top of the hill. Aoko and Alice were nowhere to be seen inside. Only Sojiro remained. It was the night of Christmas Eve. Though Aoko and Alice had yet to find Toko, they knew everything would be concluded over the course of this day and the next. Oh, Merry Christmas, everyone, jeez. Christmas comes but once a year. It was a singular time for endings and new beginnings. In Japan, the modern holiday dated back only about 100 years, and celebrated Christ's birth only in name, with all its latter-day trappings. It was neither a pure homage nor corruption of the festival that inspired it. Regardless, there was a significant increase in the land's mana during festivals. Such charge distortions were a boon to a mage's craft, be it creative or destructive. Well, that's interesting. Tokaozaki sought to destroy the local sigils, which gathered and properly cycled the magical energy of the land and its people. Sojiro was able to gather that much from Aoko and Alice's conversation. Toko had already claimed 3 sigils. How many are there? Only 2. Okay. Any further loss would signal Aoko and Alice's defeat. In order to protect the remaining ones, they had to split up. Aoko lacked power, so she would need to borrow a ploy from Alice and head to the Tokawa sigil, which boasted the greatest local energy supply. Alice would go fully equipped to the sigil in Yashirogi. And what's our boy going to do? Free from the constraints of civilized society, magecraft is most powerful at midnight. Okay, so we've got all these stipulations for power and when magic is effective. Sorry, when magecraft is effective. Apologies, there's a difference. The young witch and the apprentice mage wished each other luck before leaving the mansion. It was almost 10 at night. After the girls set out, the first 2 hours passed quickly. Well, what's Sojiro supposed to do? When Aoko was ready to head off, Sojiro walked with her to the foyer. Neither had spoken a word to each other. She had departed without showing any sign of fear. It was difficult to tell whether she did not want to get him involved or whether she did not see him a worthy ally in combat. The thought stuck with him. He let out a long sigh. Not out of dejection or frustration. It was a mechanical, emotionless breath. He sat on the near-frozen floor, staring vacantly up at the skylight. Moonlight peeked through the clouds. Imagine the moonlight bouncing off the town's powdery blanket and illuminating the night. But he would not find himself downtown. Watching from the sidelines was his role to begin with. His roommates and he lived worlds apart. He could not keep up with them, and if he did not show the same kind of will, he would remain on the sidelines. However, I get it. I'm not needed anymore. Sojiro looked up at the moon. Oh, buddy. Hey, where's that indomitable human spirit we know and love? Somewhere deep inside, he felt a trickle of sadness. Oh, dude, come on now. It's all right. Veiled in white and cloaked in darkness, the park seemed like a forgotten memory. Not a soul was in sight. The night felt far more enigmatic than usual, yet the air was clean enough to drink. Though only a sliver of moonlight peered through the clouds, it lit up the entire world. In those moments, a young girl's footsteps echoed, trampling the still white silence under a midnight sun. The pale moon illuminated the inky blue sky. Only a few streetlights and an incongruous phone booth betrayed signs of civilization. A girl appeared, dressed in black. Against the snowy landscape, the figure of Alice Kuonji was unmistakable. Pure black, deeper than even the night. Look at her. Were her overcoat, gloves, and hat, even her hair and eyes. Nothing stirred for a time. Not Alice, nor the white scenery. The world was a still painting of a snowy field. Only time moved, gradually darkening the lights in the park and eventually the nearby homes as well. Yashiragi was a more modern and developed town than Misaki. Though the park was located in the center of town, it had become a blind spot. There go the lights. It had been overlooked by developers and carried no commercial value. A few houses encircled the park. The street lights turned off at midnight. It was a white night. People, even machines, were fast asleep. It looks like I got here early, Alice whispered, watching the street lights slowly fade. She thought she heard a dog howling in the distance. Perhaps it was howling at the moon. The howl reached deeper into the night than expected. A wolf, maybe? In the house? Oh, no way, bro. I'm concerned. It was perhaps the first time it had rung since Sojiro moved into the mansion. I don't like this. I'm not here for this. I'm concerned. He heard nothing. He felt he had to say something but could not think what. Maybe something like, "Hello, Kuonji residence." Or maybe, "You've reached the Aozaki residence." While he was deep in thought, a voice as light as air came through the receiver. Alice? Sojiro could barely hear the voice, but it was definitely Alice's. Yes. Is that you, Alice? No response. The silence was as profound as the night, but for the sound of static from the receiver. After a long pause, Alice finally spoke. Is Aoko there? Wait, oh no, is this... What the hell happened? No, she hasn't come back yet. I see. With a click, the call ended. Sojiro wondered if she had something, or she had had something to say, but could not respond in time. Sojiro? It feels like something is wrong. Are we rewinding? Is it Aoko's turn? Slowly, they advanced, carving through the fresh snow. There were so many. Where had they all come from? Dozens. A feral dog snarled at Alice, their eyes trained on her. The snow clung to the beast's mangy fur. Their clenched fangs and bloodshot eyes hid a barely reined hunger that might burst forth like lightning at any moment. They yearned to taste her warm flesh and satiate their empty bellies. To them, the girl in black stood like a lighthouse in a stormy sea. Why did you call? She watched them, disinterested. It appeared that the Yashiragi sigil was the key target tonight, not Tokawa, where Aoko had gone. Alice had always been unflappable, and the child's play before her was hardly about to change that. Her main enemy was not the dog surrounding her, but the lone mage behind them, Toko Aozaki. What hideous taste. Is this what you've fallen to after these last several years? Not that I'm complaining. If this is who you really are, then Aozaki and I have nothing to worry about. Toko laughed at the acerbic taunt. Such immovable spirit. Rest assured, Alice, I'm not doing this for fun. Ah, there she is, fellas. Crunching through the fallen snow, Toko slowly came into view. She wore a moss green coat that contrasted sharply with Alice's garb. A silk scarf warmed her neck. She stood tall, her hair short, striking a more valiant posture than any young man. After all, the two standing here needed to be less like the shining moon, more like the darkness surrounding it. The barking abated, like servants in a royal court. They averted their eyes from their ruler, lest their eyes and hearts be plucked out. It's been too long, Alice. It has. You look well, Toko. They stood about 12 feet apart. No love had been lost between them. Just two enemies. One who was to be victorious and one who was to fall. So, how shall we do this, Alice? We have so much to catch up on. How have you been? There's so much I've been dying to tell you. You can spare 5 minutes to chat, can't you? I'm afraid not. If I give you even the slightest quarter, you will steal it all. Oh, the following events unfolded quickly. Oh, boldly and without a second's thought, Alice pulled out a cat's bell from the seam of her mantle and dropped it. Diddle diddle. The beginning of Alice Konji's magecraft, the start to a night of fairy tales. Aoko favored a quick draw approach, like something from a western. However, Alice preferred sleight of hand. She used her target's blind spots against them, ending the game before they knew it had begun. The bell fell, like a coin into a fountain. Then, as it was about to strike the ground, it shattered, disappearing without a trace. Runes. Correct. I spent the day carving characters into the park. The brick path meant it was easy work, if a little time-consuming. Look at the woods around here. Roughly a 1,200 square foot blank canvas. Impressive, isn't it? Right now, you and I are right on top of 300,000 characters worth of runes. Oh dear. Swallowing hard, Alice took a step back. Toko had carved runes all over the ground, even in the area Diddle reacted to alone. There was a depressing amount of them. Had she truly carved them into the whole park? Alice did not react in surprise. She simply narrowed her eyes. She could see how it would have taken the whole day. It was no wonder Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night, was destroyed by the skin of sun. Still, something bothered Alice. How in the world did you hide them all? There were just so many. What kind of magecraft could do that? Oh, these are special. These runes shift location. They're doing it even now. They look like simple scratches, but they return to their original form when they touch strong magical energy. You could call them memory runes. No matter how deep the night, these little suns won't set, and the snow hid them beautifully. She spoke modestly, but Alice could not imagine the amount of persistence, technique, and skill it must have taken. And it only took a day. Even 10 mages would have trouble producing so many sophisticated runes in that time. Moreover, these runes were made using unknown techniques the Association had not approved. It pains me to admit it, Toko, but that's a lot of power to use on one poor little girl. Oh, please. I've never thought that about you. Though, there were times when I admired that body of yours. To have one like that. Ooh! Whoa, it happened in the blink of an eye. Alice cut off Toko's snide remark with a deadly stare. The left eye of the darkly clad girl changed in color to an ominous ruby. The speed of the incantation was phenomenal. Alice's mystic eyes of enthralling snared Toko. She had been the one to, quite literally, be taken captive by the girl's stare. Toko tried to raise her arm, but could not even move a finger. Alice's mystic eyes commanded absolute control with no room for resistance. Only a person's internal organs were allowed the freedom to move. Since the organs still functioned, it was more precise to say that her eyes forbid the target from acting. Alice had played her hand with exquisite timing. It wasn't the speed of her eyes that had given her an edge. The deftness with which she wove her spells to exploit the briefest vulnerability is what made Alice a different caliber to other mages like Aoko. This witch, who lived hidden in the modern era, was more seasoned in magical battles than Toko Alzaki. Such a shame. Without Diddle Diddle, your eyes can't be made acrostic. You were close. With your Moonploy kickshot, I might have been begging for mercy. The formation holding Toko began to distort. In the blink of an eye, the mage had bested Alice's mystic eyes. Alice's black outfit fluttered in the wind. She turned so she was not facing Toko head on. The mage had recovered through her own mystic eyes. At the root of Toko's mystic eyes was a spell of Mesmerize. Most effective when facing their prey, such eyes could mindjack a target's awareness. It was difficult to resist head on. However, its effect was greatly diminished if the target was not facing the eyes directly, even if it was within range. Moreover, the girl was the last witch of her lineage, who commanded a great number of fairy tales. Against mystic eyes that projected their effects, simply turning one's body was enough to repel half of the magical energy. Like Alice's eyes, Toko's could also disable actions. Alice had escaped by the skin of her teeth. The damage she'd suffered was the weight of a twig to a forest. She just had to let the energy pass through. Oh, in an instant, a startling chill ran through Alice's body. Oh, this was a problem. The touch of death ran up her spine. She glared at the mage before her as blue rubber balls flowed out from beneath her overcoat. The stare-off grew more intense. Alice glared harder, resisting Toko's mystic eyes with her own. Losing was not an option. In terms of raw magical energy, Alice Koenji's mystic eyes were more powerful and advanced than Toko's. But... surely nobody could beat her, and yet... Her unfiltered stock of magical energy stifled by old-fashioned values was no match for Toko's madness. Deeper within her eyes, somehow, the eyes revealed a sealed power. Like a shutter? This is like an aperture. Inside the crystalline lens of the mage's left iris was a bottomless pit, a Klein cube. Alice winced in pain. The bindings grew in number. So many mystic eyes, thousands perhaps, and all fixed on Alice. Pressure. So much pressure. Endless, and Alice knew it. She saw, incredulously, she saw eyes growing within eyes. Toko had placed opposing mirrors inside her eyes, resulting in an infinite glare. It was the act of a madwoman. Creating mystic eyes within mystic eyes, she could even control the resulting chaos caused by all the copies. Her insanity knew no bounds. No mage in their right mind would mass-produce so many mystics, the last escape of humankind, so indiscriminately. Oh dear. Am I making you uncomfortable? Tell me. Am I doing a good job of imitating a mindster? Aren't you impressed? Instead of bending reality using a rare mystic like you would, I mass-produce a mystic to bend reality to my will. On the surface, they're regular mystic eyes, only their volume is infinite. No matter how much magical energy an opponent uses to resist them, it will simply multiply the energy needed to bind them. She wielded power without limit to disable an opponent. Once one was caught in them, one was changed to the concept of infinity. Projection-type eyes had a fatal flaw. Their firepower and formulae were insignificant compared to the great artillery of incanted spells. But Toko had torn down that conventional wisdom with brute strength. If the gun was a pea shooter, she simply needed to bring more guns. A 9mm bullet could never destroy a fortress, unless one threw a fortress's mass of bullets at it. The principle was brutishly simple, but in the world of magecraft where concepts decided supremacy, Toko's iterative mystic eyes were the perfect weapon. The target would be bound until she closed her eyes, in theory at least. The effects were infinite. No amount of magical energy could ever overcome it, so it was utterly futile to resist using magical energy. Of course, one way to counter it would be to stay out of Toko's line of sight to begin with. The standard tactic against mystic eyes was to defeat the user before they were aware of you. There was, however, another way. It was simpler than one might think. I'm afraid this is checkmate. Any last words? Alice could no longer see her enemy. Toko's infinite eyes had bound her. All she could make out was a sliver of moonlight and a blue streak, tracing its way towards her. Fine. I wish I could say I had no regrets like you. Oh, here it comes. She drew a rune in the air, unleashing a shockwave to tear flesh asunder. The gusts became blades of air that shredded Alice's overcoat and minced... Oh! Oh? Oh, is it a copy? Okay, hold on. All right, hey, let's debrief for a second, all right? Stay with me. So, we got this whole mage battle going on. And it seems that Alice is really a seasoned mage. I mean, she seems to know how to conduct herself in battle. She's got, some contingencies. She's got multiple weapons at her disposal. And, it seems also that Toko has decided to take on the tougher of the two opponents. I mean, I don't know. She knows her sister, and while she's talented, Aoko might be talented, Alice is the bigger threat. I don't know what the thought process is here. However, Toko is pushing through conventional wisdom with brute force. She's brute forcing this. She's been biding her time for years, and this is the result of that preparation. And so she's done something that defies all conventional wisdom, all logic, I guess. And I wonder what kind of toll this has taken on her. I wonder if she's even redeemable. These are all the thoughts that have been running through my head as we've been doing this, but I haven't wanted to interrupt anything because it's been so intense. Which is funny because just an episode or two ago, it was not like this. Anyway, let's keep moving. Blue feathers flitted all around. Toko felt something behind her and turned. 5 cat-shaped bells were thrown at her feet. And just as quickly, they shattered to pieces. Standing before her was a completely unharmed Alice Kornji. That rune was but a light breeze. Have you really lost your touch, Toko? You used a double? I've never heard of a ploy that can take the form of a mage. Well, you have now. He's useless every other day of the year, but comes in handy when someone's trying to kill you. Robin! As if responding to Alice's words, a bird began chirping frantically, an anonymous sacrifice. Who killed Cock Robin echoed into the night, sung out of tune. That'll rhyme. But you can only kill it once. Not that it would matter if it was more than that. The bird squawked a very unbird-like death throw. From behind Alice, the blue robin fell from its tree, a victim of Toko's mystic eyes. So useless. Oh, Robin, no! Let's end this now. You're out of options in this park. I don't think so. Granted, I may not be able to break free of your eyes. But wooden clay, my fair lady. The song came from the depths of the earth, stirring a mighty quake to mark the birth of something gargantuan. Oh, is she trying? Toko needed to throw Alice into an infinite hell before whatever that was could be completed, but she was far too late. Oh no. Uh-oh. I love the nursery rhymes. I love the fairy tales because it's so eerie. It really is. The ground burst to life. A finger, then another, and another, all rising up like towers. Earth, snow, and brick knitted together, manifesting a giant stone golem. What the hell is this? What's this freak doing here? Toko was so angry and confused she could barely gather her thoughts. The bridge giant. The monster from the Mindster's fairy tales rose from the ground, ruining Toko's plan. The giant was extremely powerful, but could only be summoned under one condition. It must be in proximity to a natural river. That was the monster's one and only condition. But this park was nowhere near one. And on top of that, it was rising up directly between Toko and Alice mid-battle. Oh. There's a river all right. Well, I suppose river is a bit of an exaggeration, and it'll be gone soon. Toko lowered her gaze. She was standing in a puddle of water. The scarred red mage was dumbfounded. That was why Alice had used Diddle Diddle before. While the bells could be replenished, they were valuable to Alice, and she had spent 5 throwing them in an intentional line for the sun runes to destroy. From there, a stream of melting snow, just enough to summon this guy. This big lad. Oh my goodness, he's huge. Fellas, he's ginormous. Alice is the goat. The arms of the Thames troll rose up from the stone paving. The monster's torso alone surpassed 80 feet. Its form was made entirely of stone. Previously, she had created one using the trees of a forest. However, Toko knew instantly the monster before her was at least twice as powerful. Oh, she says halt. Can you halt it? With iterative strength, she unleashed her stacked mystic eyes. They were meaningless at this stage. They had no effect on the giants. As said, mystic eyes can be countered in 2 ways. The first is to hide oneself from view of the mage. That was the standard response. The other way, however, was devilishly simple yet 100% effective. In fact, it's less of a way and more of a fact. Mystic eyes curse a target by focusing on them. However, what if the target was too large to focus on entirely? And he's absolutely... Look at the size of this lad! Jesus Christ! He's huge! The answer was one could barely stop a single arm. The giant, unfazed, raised its right arm and swung it down onto the ground, destroying thousands of runes. Big man on campus. There we go. Just dragging it across. Big Dark Souls attack. The demolished stones were then absorbed into its arm, adding to its mass. Oh my god. As the mage had said before, no matter how deep the night, these little suns won't set. While the suns might not set, they could be crushed under the bulk of a giant's hand. Oh my. The victor of the battle was decided. Toko Alzaki closed her eyes and prepared to escape. The stray dogs began to whine, fearful of the hulking figure before them. You win this one, Alice. Looks like I'm no match for a Mindster after all. Let's pick this up another time, shall we? Do you really think you can escape, Toko? Oh, please, Alice, give me some credit. I should mention, I don't think I'm the one who needs to escape. There was no hint of bravado in Toko's tone. Even in the face of a titan she had no means of harming, her confidence was unshakable. The reason being... The opening act's over. Come out? Bayo? Isn't Beowulf? This was no longer a battle of skill. A fight for survival had begun. Snap went Toko's fingers. In response, a beautiful, high-pitched melody floated up toward the moon. It echoed all around them. The spiral howl dredged up ancient, primal memories. Its source emerged from the shadows and landed next to the mage. Oh my. Oh, look at this guy. Man's best friend. Alice's lip trembled faintly, not from fear, but with admiration, once she recognized the creature before her. It was a majestic golden beast, beyond the domain of both magical and phantasmal, simply divine. It was a life that should have passed from the world with the age of gods, a mystic derived from human wisdom, preserved by thousands of generations of hidden tradition. A recreation of a miracle that once freely walked the earth, the natural enemy of magecraft, able to crush it with ease. Quiet resignation settled over Alice's face. The golden beast charged. This time, she didn't even have a chance to admit defeat. Oh, shoot. The natural enemy of magecraft? A hidden technique? Passed down from generation to generation? Then, yeah. Trembled with admiration. Her lip, or Alice's lip, it said. So this is a problem. At least for her, anyway. So what, it took care of? It took care of the Thames troll? Just like that? She could hear the beast breathing in her ear. It seemed she had been unconscious for a short time. Alice opened her eyes and took a deep breath. Each cough sent pain shooting through her body. Blood rose from the pit of her stomach and she spat it onto the cold ground. When her vision returned, she was able to make out the distant sky, falling snow, and the golden wolf. The wolf panted. It stared at Alice, saliva dripping from its mouth onto her cheek. Razor-sharp fangs lined its jaws. Its fur was glossier than that of any animal she had ever seen. Brutal, knife-like claws protruded from its massive, blood-stained paws. And yet it did not smell like a beast. Surely the presence of such a noble creature, a human, would feel like the lesser animal. The battle between Alice and the wolf was over before it had begun. After oh, good, oh my god. After destroy, After destroying the troll, it baptized Alice with its wicked claws, giving her no chance to escape. Fellas, I don't know if I can show this. Oh god, this is bad. It reminds me of Steins Gate when that stuff went down. Its sideswipe had torn into her abdomen like a sword, carving through her clothes and flesh all the way to her heart. Even so, not once did Alice make a sound. The wolf had her pinned and stared at her face. Oh god, guys. Her limbs felt ready to break at any moment. That was the situation she found herself in. Now fully conscious, Alice stared at her enemy through pained eyes. She felt no fear, only cold reality sinking in. Sensing Alice's demeanor, the wolf suddenly paused, its paw still raised. They looked into each other's eyes. You're bleeding. Doesn't it hurt? The wolf's voice came as a surprise, but there was no doubt it had spoken. Or are you just fine with pain? The wolf's voice sounded innocent, almost childlike. In complete contrast to what had happened up to that point, the wolf smiled. Either way, you've got guts, lady. The wolf opened its mouth wide and clammed its jaws around Alice's neck. Toko's tone was sharper than the wolf's fangs. The wolf froze. He let go and slowly turned his head towards the voice. Didn't I tell you not to finish her off? Are you trying to make extra work for me, you mutt? But that's the best part. Well, this was a washout. And that troll went down like everything else. Talk about a disappointment. The wolf backed away from Alice, as if no longer interested in his prey. To the golden beast, she was little more than an old chew toy. Conscious again, even with all that blood loss and broken bones. You're tough. Do I have the Meinster training to thank? Barely clinging to life, Alice stared at Toko, but not a stare of hatred and defeat, but one of disbelief. Alice simply wondered why Toko had brought such a beast. Pardon me. I should have introduced you. This is the last known werewolf on Earth. A pureblood, born to an indigenous tribe in the northern European tundra. As you can see, he's a golden mystic, and it doesn't do him justice to say he merely resembles his ancestors. He didn't have a name, so I called him Beowulf. Pretty apt, right? Alice's face was perplexed, even though she hadn't wavered when she was disemboweled. Beowulf, the name of the heroic giant slayer from Danish legend. It came from Old English, a combination of honeybee and wild beast, a bear, in other words. Kind of an incongruous name. What do you mean? It's cute. Perhaps because of the name or because of the golden beast itself. Fighting the pain, Alice struggled to read Toko. In this respect, she was worse than Aoko. Incidentally, Beo called these other mutts in. Naturally, I didn't think they'd have any effect on a Meinster's daughter. For now, at least. Toko's mouth twisted into a grin. Not the warm one Sojiro saw, but the merciless smile a victor displays to a loser. The disdain in Alice's eyes turned to anger. The Golden Mystic. How could Toko have brought such a creature into the human world? Come now, it's just supply and demand. Depopulation is not just a human problem. Their old ways were unsustainable, and so I bought him for a high price. Look at all those eyes. Well, more like I had to pay for the right to bring him out of his cave. As you might have guessed, I used my hair for the contract with Beo. I like to think of it as creating an alliance with a beast instead of creating a familiar... Ah! While she was talking, Toko noticed something strange. An unusual sound, a preternatural sound that tore at the mind, a sound that should not have existed. And it was coming from the girl's open abdomen. Regenerating already? No, wait. What's that smell? Smells like something amazing is going to happen. Curious Beowulf moved closer like a puppy examining a new toy. Stay over there, Beo. Pull yourself together. Toko shooed the mud away with her hand. I must have trained you wrong, going for a girl's belly like that. Shame on you. How come you're allowed to look? I'm a girl, so it's fine. What is happening here? If Aoko had been there, she would have blasted them away for their impudence, just as she did against Flat Snark. I feel sorry for you. How could your Meinster mother call herself a parent when she's neglected you so much? What the hell is happening? She's touching the wound? A flash of pain ran through Alice's body. Alice had held in her screams, but she finally let out a long breath. She turned her face away in pain or shame. Oh my god! Is this a... Forgive me for simplifying it, maybe. Is this a Fire Emblem situation? 3 houses, where we don't know until later in the game that, one of our main characters was, like, experimented on, and so they did things to them through magical means, to their very body, to, impose things on them. So many crests on the bones, veins, even the internal organs. Having magic circuits like that from birth is a double-edged sword. They cut incantation time, which is a great boon for a mage, but the more there are, the more pain they bring. Aozakis have crests in one arm. We've got nothing on you, do we? The magic crests Toko referred to were the inheritance of the Aozaki family passed down by their ancestors. They can only be inherited. Aoko had received the ones that were meant for Toko. Ours has its own set of drawbacks. The pain Aoko feels in her right arm is the remainder of her human body reacting to being changed into a mystic. Alright, hold on. Let me conceptualize that. The pain Aoko feels in her right arm is the remainder of her human body reacting to being changed into a mystic. Her mundane body rejects her right arm, and that pain is the cost of its deletion. Her mundane body rejects her right arm, and that pain is the cost of its deletion. It causes both physical and mental phantom pain, like some original sin that can never be wiped away. When you've come this far, pain becomes trivial. So what? Her whole body is a circuit? Is that what makes her not as human? Is that why she acts the way she does? Is that why her emotions are like that? Do you still believe you're human? Honestly, I sympathize. We both had a hard time with such extraordinary teachers, haven't we, Alice? Toko took Alice's body in her arms. The wounds from Beowulf had mostly healed. Even so, her breathing was shallow, likely due to the pain. Toko gently held the girl's face in her hand. I'm indebted to your mindster mother, and my true opponent has only ever been Aoko. Hello? Wait, I'm sorry. What? What? Why? Alice's lungs pined for oxygen. Toko pressed her lips to hers. The young girl wriggled, trying to escape, but Toko held her firmly. Beneath the blue moon, the two remained frozen. What is happening? Then the sound of swallowing? What? Oh my god, what? Something solid slid down Alice's throat. With that, she went limp and her arm fell. After setting Alice down on her side, Toko stood up. What the fuck? What is this? Oh, I've given you a dose of my own blend of Rowan, not easily counteracted. If you use magical energy, it'll explode. You'll explode, so do be careful. Okay, fine, Toko. Whatever, man. You freak? Oh my god. There's so much we don't know. What is happening? What are all these things, these tools they're using? It's crazy how we don't really have expectations for how Magecraft works because we don't know anything about the tools they have at their disposal. Passing things with my mouth is just something I like to do. Alice looked up at Toko from the ground. The disgrace from the kiss was greater than the pain she felt in her body, yeah. Toko began walking away, her golden wolf in tow. Neither looked back to see Alice's hateful glare. I almost forgot. Remember those mutts Bayo called? There's a ton of them around the park, and unfortunately they're still hungry. Bayo's an alpha male. Seeing what Bayo did to you must have really fired them up. In a roundabout way, Toko had read Alice her last rites. In nature, it was common for the weak that could no longer move to offer their bodies up to feed the strong. Well, Alice, I think that's everything. It's a long walk back, but hopefully you make it safely. With a twisted grin, the mage headed into the darkness. Alright, fellas. What the hell is going on? A. What was the point of this? I know that there was a sigil here that Toko wanted to destroy. There are 2 left, and the destruction of any one of them, supposedly, according to the game, which constantly does subvert its own expectations that it sets, spells defeat for Alice and Aoko. Right? Okay, hold on. We're gonna move past this, and we will discuss. I just need to get past all this barking. Give me a second. So the growls are growing louder. She can barely focus. Out of a picture book, her consciousness slipping away. Oh. Is Sojiro gonna come get her? Oh my god. In the corner of her eye, though, Alice could just about make out a solitary phone booth. The phone rang. There it is. Only a few minutes had passed since Alice called. He wondered what she could want this time. The call persisted, determined not to leave him to his thoughts.
Hi, Kuonji desu ga.
Kuonji desu ka. Alright, fellas. I think we're gonna leave it here. Let's talk a little, but I want to leave the rest of it up for the next video because this is wild. So, okay. So now we know, for some reason, Toko is considered a mad woman. I mean, Alice obviously is an experienced mage because they called her a witch. And then we have the apprentice, which is Aoko. They brought their tools and gifts to bear against one another, or each other rather, and they fought and Alice lost because Toko did the unthinkable. Essentially, is what they're saying. She brought a mystic golden beast into this world. I couldn't tell if the implication was, how could she have brought this beast? As in, how did she do it? Literally, how did she do it? Or how could she? How dare she? Is it like sacrosanct or something like that? Am I even using that word right? Pretty sure I am. But this fight seemed... I mean, she could... Why couldn't she kill her outright? Why didn't she want to let Beowulf finish her off? And what is it about these mystics that just are the antithesis to magecraft? So many questions and no answers. But this was fun and really tense. And I enjoyed it, even though it was absolutely wild. But I'm glad that things are picking up in a way that we haven't seen in a minute. So, anyway. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely did. And I will see you guys in the next video. So for now, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye!